Hey there, everybody. This is MegaTrain. Welcome back to Project Ozone LIte. Last episode, we built sort of this automated sieving system, or at least half of it. The big piece that we're still missing is being able to feed it a pretty consistent supply of materials to sieve. So I've spent some time since the last episode working on this piece here. This part is probably easier to explain. I brought all my ore drawers down from the top, and they're actually disconnected from the other drawer system. So I've added its own controller, and so everything that can go in here, this has an even higher priority than the drawer system above. So anything that can go in this drawer will. Anything that cannot will attempt to go into the other drawer system above. So redstone and diamonds will still go in the other system, but anything that's ore related will go in here. The other half of this piece is basically this set of mechanisms over here. So the three kinds of ingredients that I'm going to sieve for the most part are going to be my gravel and my sand and my dust. So a sag mill can break down either normal cobblestone or compressed cobblestone into gravel. Also, you can take compressed gravel and do the same thing with it. It's going to turn into compressed sand and sometimes a few other ingredients. The item conduits here are pretty straightforward. I mean, the only filters I actually have to have on here are the ones that are going up into each of the sag mills. All the rest of them, these are locked drawers, so the only things that can go in them are the items in the drawers. The only thing that you cannot do with sag mill is you can't turn sand into dust with the sag mill. So the only recipe for sand or for dust is smashing sand. So you can certainly do that in quantity the way we've done it upstairs, but you can also use the same kind of mechanical user that we're using in the sieve itself. So you can lay down a block of either sand or compressed sand, and on the other end you can smash it with a hammer. So this functionality is what enables you to automate the creation of dust. Here's the problem. This all works, and it does allow me to produce both gravel and sand and dust. Problem is, it is too slow to keep up. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to make some changes to this. I've got some speed upgrades, even in my sag mills, that really increase the range of it here. The problem is that once I do that, now I'm pulling way too much power. So I've created a single Stirling generator system. Even this upgraded with a capacitor. That gives me a pretty good burn rate, a pretty good generation rate, but it's still way too little to fuel these high power capacitors, which are up to 500 RF per tick. So I think we're going to change our strategy here and instead use a whole bunch of mechanical users to instead break those pieces down. But before we do that, I've been working on this arrangement for quite a while, and I'm a little bit tired of it, so we're going to go do something else. We're going to be killing some withers. We got plenty of skulls, plenty of soul sand. Before we feel equipped to do that, though, we're going to need to make another weapon. And for that, I'm going to use this knife blade cast. I've got some of the same ingredients I used before. I've got some molten monulin, some enderium, signalum, and carbon. Shuriken is great, is basically throwing blades. And so I'm using some of the same ingredients that give me some of the same advantages to my cleaver that we saw before. And my attack damage is 15.59. Pretty high ammo level, and that'll be a pretty nice weapon. So we can add some modifiers to that later on as well. All right, I am far enough away from my island to reduce the potential for any damage. But I've laid a little bit of a platform out here, and I'm using carbon blocks, which, as you can see, are witherproof. So that is how I'm going to make an easy platform here. So let me see if I get this right. I'm pretty sure that that is the pattern I'm looking for. All right, let's see if I've done this right. Oops. That is not right. Cross your fingers. Woo! There we go. No danger to me. And I get some good drops. I got 5 Nether Stars because I've got looting on my cleaver. And he also drops some Supremium Essence. That is handy as well. So, oops. Not that. We'll keep going a few more times. The Wither in this pack has some interesting extra features. There's a point at which he's going to start doing different things, like summoning some helpers. See how well this works here. Whoa, that works good too. The Wither has learned more about you. Withering Souls. Withering Souls can be used to make Nether Star Cruxes. And you need those if you're going to grow Nether Star seeds. Yes. So as you can see, not every battle is the same. Oh no! Still shooting at me. The lightning's still going off. I have got over a stack of Nether Stars. Some other random stuff here. Quite a number of Withering Souls. That'll be helpful. A lot of coagulated blood. I don't know that I've mentioned that those are basically usable as slime balls. So we'll put these back for the moment, and we'll head back. All right, I am back. I have repaired both of my weapons with some extra carbon, and they're up to full strength now. There's certainly a lot of things we can do with Nether Stars. The first thing I'm going to do is make a better wand. Wands are handy. And this kind of wand is completely unbreakable. So we'll toss our old diamond one at this point. I think we actually were able to complete another quest here. Beat the Wither boss. That actually gives you a mining multi-tool, which you can use to go to another dimension. But because this is a Skyblock version, we're not going to go to the mining dimension. One of the other things that I'm going to do with my Nether Star is to upgrade my furnaces again. So the Endest furnaces are pretty darn fast, but the Zenith furnace literally is like 60 times faster. Alright, there we go. Got our compactor. Alright, we'll make up some flexed electrum, and then we'll be able to press it down. A compactor has two modes. It has a press mode and a storage mode. So storage is like combining, you know, 9 iron ingots into an iron block. So that's not what we want. We want the press mode, and we'll throw that in there, and it should make us some nice flexed electrum plates that we can use in our furnaces. I got to make up my dark solarium ingots from solarium, dark steel, and pulsating crystals. And that should be the last thing that I need. So got a couple more of those to do, but let's make up at least one here. And I will show you how fast these things actually are. All right, not all that exciting, but I'm going to throw some dust in there. It should turn into quite clear glass, I believe. There we go. Pretty darn fast. So with the Zenith furnaces, you definitely need to upgrade your input and output pipes to go faster. Because those will be the limiting factor. We are back down here where we started, but we have a new plan. Instead of the sag mills, we're replace them all with mechanical users. So basically we have 6 mechanical users that are going to be placing different items. So we've got 3 placing compressed cobblestone. We've got 2 placing compressed gravel and 1 placing compressed sand. So the reason I did that basically was that one of these would break down into gravel and feed the sieve itself, and the other 2 would feed the next stage. Same thing here. One of these compressed gravel placers and breakers is going to feed the sieve directly, and the second one is going to feed the final stage. And the final stage, of course, is taking our compressed sand and breaking it down into dust. So this is the same mechanism that that I showed you earlier, but on a slightly larger scale. So I've got, filters on every single one of these, and all these blocks placed just so. The one additional thing that we're going to be doing here is using something called redstone conduit, and it's pretty easy to make. We would just need conduit binder and redstone alloy. But the idea is that I can I can basically have one switch here that controls the whole bank. So if I place it here, and right now we have nothing in the middle, but if I flip that on, it should light that up, and all of my blocks are placed in the middle. So similar here on the back end, every single one of these has a diamond hammer and a bunch of sticks. So left click breaks, and it'll just ignore all the remaining slots. And I've got a bunch of extra hammers here that feed down into here. These kind of hammers are not the same as the ones that we can make in Tinker Smeltery. So, other than adding unbreaking books or something, there's no way to make these unbreakable. But I'm going to do the same thing here and add the redstone conduit to each of these to give me a switch to turn them all on at once. And I'll add the switch back here in the corner. There we go. All right, it took me a lot of testing and some trial and error, but I think I've settled on something that's going to work here. Basically, I've put the absorption hopper underneath, so I don't have any openings in my box here, and I've enclosed all of these with our quite clear glass, like we did with the sieve upstairs. And if I hop up here, you can see that we've got the 6 of them that I discussed a second ago, and let me turn them on and show you one problem that we are going to need to address. There's a little bit of inconsistency in performance. So the 3 cobblestone on the far end only break about half as often as the gravel and the sand. I did some testing and playing around. It basically is just down to the materials. So just like it takes you longer to break cobblestone with a hammer than it takes you to break sand, that's why it takes the automated user longer to break that as well. We can fix that, and I've got some materials to do that with here. These mechanical users are upgradable, and let me show you the materials that we need. I've got a little project pouch here. So the speed upgrade, let me do this, is this red one here. And it's made with just gold and redstone. And then these upgraded base. An upgraded base comes from a weighted pressure plate, which you make in a resonator. So those are the pieces that I have to make here. I've got to make this resonator, which is pretty easy to do. I had to make a few of these redstone crystals. So I've got the materials here that I need. The other piece, though, that's going to make this all work, though, is I need to have GP, grid power. So I think we mentioned it in a prior episode, but grid power is going to power really a variety of instruments like these speed upgrades. So there's a few other things that we'll need it for, but let me make my resonator. And if I lay my resonator down, I can put these pressure plates in it, but it says I've got to have 8 GP for it to actually operate. You can also see that when you're pointing to pointing to a block that uses GP. Same thing up here. Grid power 0.4 out of 0. So I'm using more than I have. And as a matter of fact, if I were to try to turn on these mechanical users now, they wouldn't even work. Because even though mechanical users require 0, I have less than 0 at this point. So I need some grid power. So there are a handful of ways to make GP. One of the easiest right up front here is to make solar panels. You've got to make sure you've got the right ones in the game here. So these ones produce 1 GP each, but they are crazy cheap. So lapis, polished stone, and resonating crystals. So I just need to make up some polished stone. I've got some plain old stone that we make into stone bricks. And we can make those into polished stone. And make a whole bunch of solar panels. What is cool about GP is that it doesn't have, you don't have to connect it. It doesn't have to be anywhere specific. So really anywhere in the world that you have access to is going to work. So let me lay these down here. We're generating 12. That's the number after the slash there. It must have started actually working in the resonator here. There we go. We've already got 2 out of the 3. And now I can make this up here. Now if you look at these actually use GP themselves. So I would have to actually have those solar panels up there for these to work, even if I already had the upgrades. So not just for making them, I need the GP for those upgrades to actually continue to work. So these are the hammers breaking just the cobblestone. Now, if I hook these back up, let's cross our fingers. There we go. And they're producing at exactly the same rate. Okay, so we are now producing these materials at approximately the same rate based on our machinery back there. The second question is, are they producing it fast enough for our sieves to exceed the pace of our sieves? So let's turn our sieve back on up here. And I've tried this before, and it does appear to be working faster than the sieves. So we're generating material faster than our sieves are using them, which is great because we've already increased the pace of our sieves up above. So our resources are going to continue to grow at the same time as we get materials. So the final step of this process is actually gathering and processing these materials. I had to add two extra absorption hoppers because one just could not keep up. And it didn't have to do with the speed they were coming out. It had to do with the speed at which it was actually picking them up from the world. But they're going into this drawer bank here. And my final step was I wanted to process these. So there's a couple ways to do so. I think we've already mentioned that we can do ore doubling inside the smeltery. You can also do ore doubling inside a sag mill. So if I throw these in there, you can get at least 4 iron dust. The flint gives you a bonus, so I actually got 6 in there. That's great. And then you smelt that up and you get 6 iron from 2 iron ore. That's kind of high. That you don't normally get 6 from 2. The problem was sag mills, even with the highest upgrades here, were just not fast enough to keep up with my sieve upstairs. So I basically took those out, and instead I'm going straight into my zenith furnaces here. So let me turn on my switch. And we're getting just the ore chunks into each of these. I did have to add a whole bunch of filters, and these are advanced filters here with all of my different ore chunk types. I have 8 in there, and there should be 8 more in this one over here. So it's going to process all these. It smelts them all down, and it throws them back into my system. So there are a few of these that I still need to make drawers for. We'll work on that between episodes as well. But that's probably enough for one episode. I think I have a couple of loot boxes to open up. Let's go do that. I only ended up with 1 loot chest this time around. Ooh, Silk Touch Chance Pendant. Pick up chance cubes without breaking them. That might come in handy. But we did also get some other nice resources. We got all these Nether Stars, some Supremium Essence, and some Withering Souls that we'll make use of in the future. So I think next time we'll try to get a whole lot more loot boxes. Maybe we'll get into the mystical agriculture stuff and try to accomplish a bunch of those. But thank you for joining me and watching my episode. Hope you've learned something and enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.